We have some new massive projections for Spot XRP ETF. 21 shares, Grayscale. What happens if BlackRock gets in? Wisdom Tree, Franklin Templeton. Chad has done the legwork. We are going to go through everything that he's posted here. It's going to give you a really good understanding of what he thinks is possible. And of course, I'm going to give you my 2 cents of what I think is possible here. But these numbers are kind of crazy. So let's just take this in stride. Understand that the price is going to fluctuate up and down. If it goes up, these numbers obviously will not reflect everything that you see here, but it's a good idea to be prepared and to have this knowledge. So let's just jump into it together and we'll figure this out. We'll figure this out. 21 shares XRP ETF scenario, assume the current price. So all of this is assume the current price of what, like $2.20. That is what you need to understand across all of this. So if the price goes, if the doubles or if the price triples or quadruples, you start to have to cut this in half, cut this in thirds, fourths. Like you would really start to, have to redo all of this. Day one, November 21st, assume slightly better, 125 million in assets. Here is the projection. All right, XRP acquired. So if the first day is 125 million, this is how much XRP they would acquire with that 125 million. Assume half of the daily average going forward. Here is the daily for 29 million XRP or 30 million XRP, give or take. Weekly would be just under 150 million. Monthly would be just under 600 million. And yearly would be 7 billion XRP collected and to fund this ETF, which would be an enormous number. All right. And then here's Franklin Templeton scenarios. We know that Franklin Templeton is supposed to launch here on the 24th. It did have some smaller launch on Cboe, but we are waiting for that, much larger launch here. We're using price targets here. The analysts have said 150 to 250 million the first day. Chad used an average of 200 million, which is right in between here, the two, right? You went up 50 million on the 150, and then you went down 50 million on the 250 to reach a happy medium of $200 million. And then it says use 50% XRP acquired and then 100 million worth. So he's cutting it in half again. This would be your daily, right? If there's $100 million in volume coming in, you'd be taking off about this much XRP and then 50 million. And then of course, here are some other numbers here. 1 week, 1 month, and 1 year. Could you imagine 5.6 billion XRP being bought? But this would be $12 billion in ETF demand in just one ETF. So just please understand that, right? We're talking about some monster numbers. Wisdom Tree XRP ETF scenario, assume less than Canario day one, but better than the daily average moving forward. So we're talking about maybe 35 million in XRP in day one. And this would be about 16.587 million XRP. This would be 1 week. This would be 1 month, right? 331,000. And then in 1 year, we could be talking about just under 4 billion XRP. All right. So Chad also